That's CJ on the track.
Sorry about that, fellas. Go CFB snapback on. Check. Got a little Michael Jordan shirt on. Check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. It is Thursday, June 12th. We got so much to talk about. But anyway, on today's docket, Phil Steele, top 40 reaction this magazine season. So we're going to look at his top 40s. I think it's interesting that most people do a top 25. We even seen Josh Pate do a top 20, but he did a top 40. And we're going to talk about who's too high, who's too low, who's just right. SEC kickoff times announced, and we can circle August 28th as the official start date of the SEC season, and we'll have Central Arkansas versus Mizzou. We're going to do a full breakdown of all marquee matchups in our Into the News segment. Also, on today's docket, I'm telling you, this show is a lot. We got a lot on today. We got a lot to cover today. Governor's ruling segment. We got the Biletnikoff Watchlist. Of course, Jeremiah Smith leads the pack. We could probably guess who's second, but who's legit and who else is living off of hype? We're going to talk about that today. And around the nation today, we're going to cover the G5 coaches who are on the hot seat. We got so much to talk about. We're going to look at their schedule breakdowns, and we're going to kind of look and see who's going to make the cut, who's not going to make the cut. And finally, on today's docket, we'll look at Yormark versus Petiti. There's been some people who had some choice words for Tony Petiti as it pertains to the House settlement. He hasn't really said much, and I think a lot of people are aligned with what Brent Yormark has been talking about. So we'll talk about that today as well. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great
on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of it. Man, I tell you, this time period of college football season is so crazy because, like, I don't know if it's just a sign of the times, a sign of like how much the sport has evolved. But I tell you, it is so much going on in the wonderful world of college football. Something that we talked about last night on Overreaction Monday. Shout out to everybody who caught that episode of Overreaction Monday. It was truly dope to see. But looking at everything we have in this sport, so much going on, and a lot of us are being really critical of the sport. I'm guilty of that as well. But it's just so much wonderful things going on. As I change this video, and you guys can tell I'm changing this video, but I don't care. We do things on the fly. It's live TV, man. But anyway, let's get into the news, man. First things first. The wait is over. They have officially announced the SEC kickoff times. While we already knew the games, I think it's interesting to see what the kickoff times are. What are these Saturday slates going to look like? And it starts off Thursday, August 28th. We'll see Central Arkansas at Missouri. It'll be interesting to see what that game looked like, but it is what it is. Saturday, August 30th, we got Syracuse versus Tennessee. That's a game that my guy Nino Brown, shout out to Nino, man. He's been talking about a lot because as he evaluates this Tennessee team, and as the rest of us have evaluated this Tennessee team, we're interested to see where Josh Heupel is this year. We've seen a lot of fans in Knoxville kind of, give Josh Heupel a round of applause for his handling of the Nico Iamaleava situation, because a lot of the fan base feel that he's been a distraction. But some of us believe that, hey, yes, he might have been a distraction, but we don't think it was handled well. And the reason that we don't think it was handled well on either side, on either end, it was handled well, because in the end, Nico got less money, and in the end, Tennessee got lesser value at quarterback. Yes, Joey Aguilar had a dynamite season back in 2023, but his 2024 season wasn't great, and he has to do it at the highest level there is in college football, and that's in the SEC. So we'll see how well that match. Also on August 30th, we're looking at Marshall at Georgia. It'd be a really, good early test. I got to see Marshall last year. Marshall kind of had a mass exodus this past season. Marshall has taught me as I venture out into tours and, in this wonderful world of college football, Going to Huntington, West Virginia, I had preconceived notions about West Virginia, and trust me, some of those preconceived notions were met as we on our way to Huntington. But once you go to Huntington, it's a really beautiful city, man. It's a beautiful campus, a lot of highly energetic people, and we met a lot of people while we were there, and their fans were really interactive. So I would look forward to a trip back out there this year. We got Georgia State at Ole Miss on SEC Network. That's on August 30th. We got UTSA. UTSA, I think, is going to be really good this year at Texas A&M. So it'll be a good game as well. Sunday, August 31st, creme de la creme. We get a couple of games on Sunday. I believe, well, actually, this might be the only Sunday game, but I think also TCU and North Carolina opening week play, and even though neither one of them are in the SEC, but they play Monday. But Virginia Tech, South Carolina, neutral site, I believe it's in Atlanta. It's going to be a really good game. Let's move forward. September 6th, we start to get blockbusters. September 6th, we get Michigan at Oklahoma. ABC, that's a primetime game. It's going to be a really cool game. You know, a lot of storylines we'll be paying attention to. I'm sure Sharon Moore is going to be, you know, very emotional. I'm sure his emotions are going to be high returning to the place that he played collegiate ball at. That's why he kind of scheduled his absence. Those 2 games he's going to miss. He made sure he wasn't missing his return there. We got Ole Miss at Kentucky. That early in the season, we saw that last year. Well, you know, I had Ole Miss as my favorite to win a national championship last year. And if I look at the 2 games that Ole Miss really laid an egg, it was the game against Kentucky. They had a myriad of opportunities. They didn't end up winning. There was also the game against Florida, a game in which I did not like what I saw from Jackson Dart. It is what it is. You guys know one thing about me. You guys know I'm going to always be honest. And I'm always going to tell that real. You know what I'm saying? And then September 6th, we also get Kansas at Missouri. You know, the border war is back. I can't wait to see some of these old classic rivalries come back, and it's good that we getting it. September 13th. September 13th is a pivotal week. It's just like last season. It was kind of week 3 of the season. We got Wisconsin going to Alabama. Last year was the other way around during week 3. We saw Alabama travel up to Madison. It'll be a really good game. Luke Fickell and company got the toughest schedule in all of college football outside of any SEC team that was mentioned above them. I think they got the 6th toughest schedule in the country. That'll be interesting. Georgia at Tennessee. We're going to find out about Tennessee very early on in the season, and then we got a thriller also under the lights. We got Florida at LSU. That's going to be a good game as well. September 20th, we got Auburn at Oklahoma. That's revenge week. That's a flex game. I think they'll be moved to a night game. I think we're going to see Jackson Arnold marching to Norman, had that Auburn flag, and he's going to go Baker Mayfield. I promise you, I truly believe he's going to go Baker Mayfield and you know, stamp that Auburn flag into the OU, and it's going to piss a lot of people off. But I think he's going to come back playing a villain. You know, kind of how we've seen Trae Young in basketball. You know, when he goes to the Garden, he always wants to be the villain. Really good game. We got another flex game on September 20th. We got South Carolina at Missouri. Then we also got Tulane at Ole Miss. It'll be a flex game, but that's a G5 trap game, so we got to be careful. And, you know, there's certain coaches I like to say this for. I know Kirk Cignetti is somebody that I said this for. John Summerall is another guy that I say this for. All he does is win. So Ole Miss need to watch out for their game. September 27th, we got Super Saturday. So we got, and this is coming 2 weeks, and both teams have a bye week in week 4. And I'm talking about Alabama at Georgia. It's in Athens. It's a rematch. It's going to be a revenge game from Georgia because Georgia felt like they did everything in their power to come back. After Alabama got out to that huge lead the first half of last year's game, they're going to be ready. It's going to be a really good game. Can't wait to see that one. Notre Dame at Arkansas. I did see somebody in the chat. Shout out to bro, because bro watches all of the shows. It was like, yo, you don't got Notre Dame in your college football playoff? Looking at Notre Dame's schedule, they should be in the college football playoff. But, you know, anybody who knows me know I'm weary of quarterback competition. So if Marcus Freeman, you know, makes the announcement early and we got a clear guy at quarterback, then okay, I may change my fate on Notre Dame. But for right now, I'm just unsure. They lost a lot of production as well. Auburn at Texas A&M, September 27th. This is a Super Saturday, man. And Tennessee at Mississippi State. Mississippi State is going to be better than advertised. I'm not going to say that they're going to be bowl eligible, but I truly believe they'll be on the cusp of being bowl eligible. I like what Blake Shapen did last year, even in a shortened season. Even you know, he wasn't able to win a lot of games in that shortened season, but yeah, 8 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. We saw what we saw in the spring when Jeff Lebby first arrived in Starkville. We was like, who's going to be the guy quarterback? Clearly, it was going to be Blake Shapen. We saw him put together an amazing spring game. He had a really good fall camp. He started out this last season really well. It was heartbreaking to see him get injured, but I truly believe Mississippi State will be improved this year. And then there's going to be teams down the stretch. Anybody, yo, how are they struggling with Mississippi State? Well, we're going to see Mississippi State build. I'll caution Mississippi State. After the Zach Arnett situation with Mississippi State, God bless the dead, after, Mike Leach passed away, he ended up being the head coach. Like, even if the team from Starkville have a bad year this year, don't jump the gun. I think too many times programs jump the gun because they feel like, we got to go get the next hotshot guy. And I believe, and I've been saying this for a while, I believe that this carousel of coaches is going to be amazing. I think you're truly going to get a guy like Jamie Chadwell from Liberty. I think, somebody like a Glenn Schumann or a Kane Womack. It's going to be so many people that, Will Stein. There's going to be a lot of coaches who we're looking at like, hey, these guys deserve jobs, and this may be the year to go get you one. So I'm going to caution Mississippi State, even if you're bowl eligible and you're just on the cusp, you won like 5 games, maybe even 4 games, that is still a step in the right direction. I believe Jeff Lebby can get the job done. I truly believe that 100% that Jeff Lebby can get the job done. October 11th, we got Red River Rivalry plus Deep South games. We got Oklahoma versus Texas. From Dallas, of course, Georgia at Auburn. Auburn, man, I'm telling you, Auburn got. I'm not saying they're going to be in the college football playoff. I am saying that they'll be at least bowl eligible, and I think it'll be closer to 8 wins, and it'll be closer to 6 wins if that makes sense, or even 9 wins. Auburn is going to upset some teams this year. I'm telling you, they have playmakers offensively. Also got playmakers defensively. You look at their wide receiver room; they got one of the top 3 or 4 wide receiver rooms in all of college football. So, I like that team a lot. We got Florida at Texas A&M. That'll be a flex game. We will be looking at 2 teams kind of separating themselves from the pack, as it pertains to the rest of the SEC. So that's a really good game. Then Alabama at Missouri. That'll be a noon kickoff. Trap spot alert. It probably could be. October 18th, SEC's New World. We got Texas at Kentucky. That's a nighttime game. Ole Miss at Georgia. Of course, Georgia's going to be looking for payback. That's a flex game. And I love that they have so many flex games. We see it in the NFL. The NFL utilization of flex games work really well, especially when you think about it. I think the NFL, probably the last, 4 out of 5 years, maybe 5 out of 6 years, the last game of the regular season, that nighttime game on Sunday Night Football, has ended up being a playoff game. So I like the fact that we have a bunch of flex opportunities here. I think that's truly amazing. So I'm 100% cool with that. So that's October 18th. And then we got November. This is rivalry season. And, of course, we definitely forgot about that third Saturday in October. Of course, we want to get Alabama, Tennessee. Be interested to see what both programs are. So November 1st, we got Georgia, Florida, in Jacksonville. We know what that is. The world's greatest cocktail party. Would be interesting to see that. November 15th, we got Texas at Georgia. I see if Texas can finally get that monkey off their back with Georgia. Oklahoma at Alabama is another flex game. November 15th, Ryan Williams. You heard Ryan Williams been talking this year. They're coming for playback for a lot of these teams. And I know Vanderbilt was a team he mentioned, but I'm sure he meant that for Oklahoma as well. They didn't like some of them games that they lost last year. November 28th, we got some Black Friday brawls. We got Ole Miss at Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl on ABC or ESPN. And then we got Texas A&M at Texas. The Lone Star Showdown returns, of course. Then we got November 29th, the rivalry finale. We got the Iron Bowl. That's a flex game. Alabama at Auburn. We got Florida State at Florida. LSU at Oklahoma. Clemson at South Carolina. That's the Palmetto Bowl. And then December 6th is the SEC Championship game. And that'll be in Atlanta. The road is brutal, but it leads here. So that's the SEC kickoff schedule. I always like going down, seeing when teams play. There's a lot of games that I'm interested in as it pertains to the SEC, but, it is what it is. So let's get into our second Into the News segment story. Your Mark speak ups while one conference leader remains silent, and we'll get to that in a second. Brett Yormark is at the front and center. I've been a huge Brett Yormark fan for a while. You can go back before I was doing live shows. You can go back and look at some of the uploads that I was doing, and in 2023, and I made a comparison between Brett Yormark and George Kliavkoff, and how, hey, George Kliavkoff was kind of waiting and hoping. And I've always said you got 3 type of people. You got people who either make excuses, people who either, wait and hope, or people who even blame others. And I feel like in that situation, George Kliavkoff was waiting for this TV deal so badly that it didn't happen. And then, schools in your conference got sniped because you were waiting and hoping. You can't do that. So while Brett Yormark said, okay, these, we lose to Texas and Oklahoma, some of the highest grossing college football teams there is in the planet. And even in some other sports, those two universities are high grossing. So we look at those two programs. You saw Brett Yormark could have, cried like, damn, I'm losing my conference, this, that, and the third. He got active. He went and got Colorado. He went and got Arizona State. He went and got Utah. He went and got BYU. He went and got Cincinnati. He went and got Houston. He got active. It wasn't even word that, hey, he might be trying to get UConn. And, hey, maybe they could be independent football and they just joined the Big 12 for basketball. Brett Yormark got active. And Brett Yormark, man, he's a leader, bro. Old school leader. Brett Yormark don't want a lot of attention. Buddy just, at the end of the day, Buddy just want to sit here and he want to do his due diligence, bro. He want to put on for the Big 12. And it was so funny last season when he was thinking about renaming the Big 12 to bring more money to the universities, and instead of calling it the Big 12, let's say All-State is going to sponsor, I believe they sponsored the Cotton Bowl. Let's say they was going to call it the All-State Conference. And people were like on the internet clowning Brett Yormark for trying to find ways for his school to generate revenue. That's the craziest thing. Hey, y'all hear my dog in the background. He like, kill him. I'm going to kill him, dog. I got you. Chill, B. I got you. So Brett Yormark was getting active, and it's like people was making fun of it. And I guess he decided not to because of the backlash and the bad PR that came from it. But damn, if you're trying to generate more money for your schools, your 16 or 17 programs that are a part of your conference, and maybe instead of calling it the Big 12, it ain't even 12 teams anymore, calling it the All-State Conference, calling it the All-State Conference, I say that leads to like $100 million deal. And then the schools are splitting, $80 million of it. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but that's still more money in. It's all about all money in at the end of the day. So like I said, I'm a huge Brett Yormark fan, Yormark fan. And he's always been, honest, decent and loyal, bro. That's the type of guy he's been. So here's what we need to know. Starting July 1st, Power Conference schools will directly play athletes. Football takes the line here. 75% of the $20.5 million pool. Nino was saying that last night that somewhere around 15 million roughly. The NCAA is cutting a massive $2.776 billion check over the next decade for back pay. So shout out to those players who once upon a time, was in college football. I think it's over the last decade, those players will get payments as well. Shout out to everybody who's watching this right now, who's watching it live. My name is the Governor. That's just what I go by. Lever KT, whatever you want to call me. And I love college football. If this is your first time seeing this show, make sure you guys hit like, comment, share it, all that good stuff. And if you want to be a part of the 1%ers, man, go ahead and hit subscribe, man. Be real fun. So we're live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yormark called the new model with rules of engagement. It won't be perfect out of the gate, but it's structured, and structure is what the sport has been begging for. Yes and no. He's not just throwing quotes out. He said that he's rolling up his sleeves next week with the other commissioners. And the Big 12 is not going to sit back. They're just not. That's just who Brett Yormark is. If you watch his opening statement at Big 12 Media Days, by the way, CFB Nation will have boots on the ground for Big 12 Media Days. We will be there. We booked our flights last week. We're booking our hotels this upcoming week. We will be there. We'll also be at ACC Media Days. We got the approval letters for both of them within the last week. So that's going to be fun. And I will be doing live episodes from there. And we're trying to get that Radio Road. That way we can have live interviews on the show as well. So we talked about Brett Yormark and how we picked up Brett Yormark. When I just did the commissioner approval ratings, right? When I just did those, and I talked about, Tony Petitti is number one. And the reason I had Tony Petitti at number one, well, his school's won the last two national championships. They were able to get 4 teams in last year into the college football playoff. I thought that they were doing a phenomenal job, and I still think that Tony Petitti is doing a phenomenal job. He's been able to align himself with Greg Sankey, and we know Greg Sankey is very opinionated, but he's been able to align himself with the right people, and at the same time, he's like, cool, I'll let you do your thug does with Greg Sankey. You could kind of speak, for both of us, but Tony Petitti he just seemed like a business as usual type guy. So people have been calling him out saying, yo, like, you going to speak up about this house situation? Like, are you going to say anything about it? So, of course, people been getting extremely frustrated about it, but, it is what it is in the end. Just people getting upset about it. So Dan Wetzel from ESPN didn't hold back. He called out the lack of communication from the Big Ten commissioner. And listen, this isn't about media obligations or sound bites. It's about trust. It's about vision. With the with the House versus NCAA settlement, the playoff expanded, NIL changing everything. Big Ten literally redrawing the college football map coast to coast. Fans want a voice. And what we do sometimes as media, I'm even guilty of it as well. During the season, this is still the best sport that there is. It's no comparison. It's no competition. The pursuit of perfection that you don't get. I mean, think about it. March Madness, I enjoy March Madness just like everybody else do. But hell, you can have a bad regular season, win your conference tournament, and go on a run in a tournament. Like, we literally seen UConn do it with Kemba Walker. We've literally seen NC State do it during their surviving advance in 1983. College football ain't like that. You better bring your motherfucking A game. I promise you better bring your A game, bro. Because college football, it's about perfection. We seen a really good South Carolina team with only 3 losses, and one of those losses was suspect, and they really shouldn't have lost. They were left out. Same thing with Alabama, 9-3. They were left out. Same thing with Ole Miss, 9-3. The team that I predicted that would win it all last season, they were left out. College football is all about that pursuit of perfection, and people were upset that SMU got in over them because SMU's, when their loss happened and the fact that it was in a conference championship. I'm so happy that we're at the straight seeding. I didn't like the auto bids. Let's go to straight seeding. The top 4 teams, the true top 4 teams. I don't care if it's 2 Big Ten teams. I don't care if it's 2 SEC teams. Whatever the committee says, the top 4 teams will be, those top 4 teams get a bye. So I think we'll get a little bit more parity as it pertains to scheduling. Because think about it. Oregon went undefeated in their conference last year, won their conference championship. Boom, in the playoffs to get a bye, and then guess what? They get to play red hot Ohio State. That's how we reward them. Penn State, they play SMU. We won in the college football playoff. Second round of the playoff, they get to play Boise State. And I ain't saying Boise State sorry or anything like that. I'm just being real, because at the end of the day, this is what matters. So, boom. So, let's get into our next story. I just thought it was important that we open the news that way. Let's go ahead and get into our next segment. Our next segment is a Governor Reacts segment. And we're reacting to Phil Steele's, you gotta change that lower third. We're reacting to Phil Steele's top 40 teams in college football. And most people give us 25. Phil Steele gave us 40. So we're going to go down this list and look at these teams that, everybody kind of deemed the top 40 teams. So we're going to go 40-1. Let me know in the comment section how you guys are feeling about it. And I think it's interesting. San Jose State made the cut. That was really interesting because, I just did a segment on the G5 teams I think you need to watch for the college football playoff. And I see San Jose State on this list. I said, Phil, what do you know? You know what I'm saying? These are the same things I have, like when I'm talking to D-Now, and D-Now drop a bomb, or Moon drop a bomb when I'm watching, World of College Football. And shout out to Moon, because Moon talks FBS, FCS, he talks everything. And then Nino will say something, and I look at Nino like, what you know? Because Nino always finds some weird storyline, but it somehow makes sense in this alternate universe. And then sometimes it ends up happening. That's how crazy it is. So I looked at this, I said, Phil Steele, what do you know? So I need to do more research on San Jose State. Liberty at 39. I had Liberty very high in my top 25. I had them at 25. And as Nino would put it, and I think he put it in a great way, he said, well, you had them there by default. Kind of. One, Liberty is a huge supporter of the CFB Nation. I'm a season credential member at Liberty. I can go to Liberty games when I feel like it. But two, I truly do believe in Jamie Chadwell. I truly do believe in Ethan Vasco. And I truly do believe, they got the easiest schedule in all of college football. Numero uno, the easiest schedule in all of college football. So, yeah, I believe in Liberty. Number 38, UTSA. I'm high on UTSA this year. Good that they see that they made the cut. 37 is Pitt. Yeah. Pat Narduzzi. Pat Narduzzi actually follows me on Twitter, so shout out to Pat Narduzzi. I didn't get a chance to speak with him last year, but we did speak quite a bit at ACC Media Days of 2023. But shout out to Pat Narduzzi. I know Pitt was one of the teams Nino mentioned last night, and they got a kid at linebacker that I don't think enough people are talking about, man. That kid, Kyle Lewis, a linebacker, real deal, 7 sacks last year, over 100 tackles, 4 interceptions. He does everything. And I know there's linebackers that we really like in this sport, like a Weeks at LSU or Harold Landry at LSU. Or Anthony Hill Jr. at Texas, who's the real deal at well. But Kyle Lewis, he has a seat at the table. He's just as good. TCU at 36. I think I'm buying TCU stock this year. I'm interested to see what happens with Sonny Dykes. I really like Josh Hoover. If you've been watching the show for a while, you know I'm a really huge Big 12 quarterback, fan. So I love it. North Carolina at 35. I think this is Phil Steele kind of gauging. Well, we know Bill Belichick's an elite coach. We see he was able to get his dual threat quarterback in Gio Lopez. I think he's kind of gauging where they're at. I think that's why we have North Carolina here. I was disappointed in Louisville at 34 because I'm really high on Louisville. Louisville plays 8 games at home this year. It's only 12 regular season games. 8 of them are at home. Only 4 in a row. That's a really friendly schedule. Their running back room. Hey, we talk about Penn State running back room all the time, and I really do like Katron Allen, and I'm a fan of Nick Singleton as well. Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love, fan of his. Also like Jadarian Price. Jadarian Price don't get enough love. But when I look at this Louisville room, and I know Isaac Brown get a lot of the hype, Duke Watson is just as good, if not more electrifying. Duke Watson is real deal. So I like Louisville a lot. I like their wide receiver core as well. So Louisville at 34, Phil, what do you know? Because that's what I start saying when I see stuff like this. So Louisville at 34 and Iowa at 33 puzzled me. And I'm a huge Phil Steele fan. There's not a better magazine out there than Phil Steele's. But Louisville at 34? Really, cuz? We got JMU and Florida State above Louisville. And at 33, we got Iowa. Like, Iowa's offense wasn't in the top 60 last year versus the previous 2 years with Brian Ferentz at their offensive coordinator. They just got the kid Mark Gronowski from the FCS level. He's real deal, and he really fits that system really well. Phil, what are we doing? Louisville at 34? Stop it. Louisville, I think, will make the college football playoff. That's how strongly I feel about Louisville. I will be on the cusp of making the playoff. That's how strongly I feel about Iowa. I don't think they'll make it, but they'll be on the cusp. James Madison at 32. He feels strongly about James Madison. James Madison is another program that we are close with. I'm able to go to games there whenever I want to. Florida State, right now. And I know we're not trying to overreact to last year because, Florida State had a damn good 2023 season. 2024 was a mess. And it wasn't just a mess on the field. It was a mess. Alex Atkins missed quite a few games. I am high on Alex Atkins as an offensive coordinator. I was kind of a little shocked that he got fired this past year, but I think Mike Norvell kind of had to do what he had to do to make some people happy, if you get it. But right now, Florida State played Iowa. Neutral site, who you guys got winning? Give me Kirk Ferentz and company. Louisville, neutral site, who you got winning? Give me Louisville. That's no disrespect. It's just at the end of the day what I believe. At 30, Georgia Tech. CFB Nation, Georgia Tech got a beautiful relationship. Huge fan of Georgia Tech. Brent Key is a guy that I like a lot. And my question continues to be, yes, Brent Key played football there. He was an offensive lineman at Georgia Tech. But how quick their turnaround has been. Has he got enough credit for that? Was the interim coach after the, 2022 season, and they were able to split their games down the stretch as him as the interim coach. They removed the interim tag after the end of the 2022 season. They said, you're our guy, and heading into the 2023 season. Hey, they played well the 2023 season, played really well the 2024 season, almost beat Georgia in a thrilling overtime affair. So we look at this team, and I look at Georgia Tech, and I say Georgia Tech is damn good. Really damn good. Texas Tech. A lot of people are high on Texas Tech. Joey McGuire and company weren't afraid to spend money at all this year. They just weren't afraid to spend money. So, hey, they gotta get the dividends on the field, though. Number 28, Nebraska. My boy Nino is really high on Nebraska this year. A lot of people talking about we know what Matt Rule do in year 3. I think that's extremely fair. 27, Memphis. I'm shocked because Memphis has lost some production. I'm shocked that he had Memphis higher than Liberty, Memphis higher than UTSA. I'm interested to see what Navy is on this list. They better be on this list. But I'm interested to see Memphis at 27. Ole Miss at 26. It will be just outside of the 25. And this isn't his rating because he does do a power rating as well. And there's a difference between ratings and rankings. Ratings are just kind of merit based. This ranking is kind of his projection for the season, if that makes sense. Toledo at 25. If you haven't heard, CFB Nation is doing a docuseries with Toledo this upcoming season. So shout out to the Rockets. We're glad they're on the list. Kansas State at 24. Where do you value Kansas State at this year? Chris Clemon's a guy a lot of us believe in. Avery Johnson is really nice at quarterback. Is Dylan Edwards seasoned in the backfield? Got somebody like a guy like Jerron Bradley, somebody I was high on a few seasons ago. It'd be interesting to see what he does this year. Arizona State at 23. I think this is fitting. Some people will be extremely upset with Arizona State being at 23. And I'm going to caution people. I've been watching Big 12 ball for a very long time. And it's difficult to have repeats in that conference, especially since Texas and Oklahoma has left. We saw how well Oklahoma State played 2023, 2024. They laid an egg, right? Because that's 100% what they did. They laid an egg. So I'm going to caution people why I think Kenny Dillingham is one of the best coaches in all of America. I think he's in that second or third tier of coaches. The joy that he brings to the field, like he's energetic. He's one of the coaches. If I was still playing, he's one of the coaches that I would want to play for 100%. So I like him a lot. But I just think that this is the way that the Big 12 operates. 22 USC. A lot of people continue to say, hey, Lincoln Riley's on a hot seat. I disagree with that. 100%. He's been able to recruit. I think we forgot how bad things were for USC once upon a time before Lincoln Riley got there. And you look at their record last year, I think they finished the regular season, 7-5? Hell. And they were 1-5 in games? I think they finished, 76 overall? They were 1-5 in one-score games? They just won half of those games. We're talking about a 10-win team or a 9-win team. I think we're a little bit too critical on Lincoln Riley. I truly believe that. They were competitive last year. My biggest thing, or the overarching thing for USC heading into last season was, hey, that sexy ball that you play out west, can you bring your lunch pail and play in the Big Ten? Last season, they were able to bring their lunch pail and play in the Big Ten. So I think they'll be just fine. Iowa State at 21. Me and my guy, Dina, are both really high on Iowa State. Huge Rocco Beck fan. Iowa State should get it done. Matt Campbell showed me a lot last year. And I know some of you guys are going to be critical of him because of how badly they lost in the Big 12 championship to Arizona State, which we were credentialed for, by the way. And if we had a jet, we'd have been at both. Where we went to ACC, we decided to go to the ACC championship over the Big 12 championship. And I think we made the right decision because ACC game lasted damn near 1 a.m. It's a damn good game. Indiana at 20. How do you feel about Kirk Cincinnati in year 2? Mike Shanahan, still their offensive coordinator from last year, but he was a co-offensive coordinator with Tino Sinceri. If you heard me on the show before, you know I'm a huge fan of Tino Sinceri. He's the offensive coordinator at UCLA. He was the passing game coordinator last year, and I think he was a huge reason why Curtis Rourke had the success that he had. When you have a guy at your offensive coordinator who was a quarterback, who know what it's like to play quarterback and know what you're going through, right? I think it's easier to relate to. And Tino Sinceri isn't, that old either. So I think the relatability is there. I think he is going to get the best out of Nico Iamaleava. I truly believe that. And of course, fans in Knoxville don't want to hear that, but I believe we're going to see Nico put up much better stats this season. And 19-5 wasn't too shabby, but I think you're going to see Tino really give him comfortable throws. He's going to give him runs, let him get hit early. I think that's what we're going to see. Texas A&M at 19, this is fitting. I think a lot of people kind of don't know what to do with Texas A&M. They got a defensive-minded head coach. Mike Elko did something that I thought Brent Venables probably could have done a little sooner, but he was robbed of his offensive coordinator when Jeff Lebby did head to Starkville. But, we look at Texas A&M. They got a hotshot offensive coordinator in Colin Klein, a guy that I liked a lot when he was at Kansas State. I thought it would be difficult to lure him away from Kansas State. But, Mike Elko, year one, I think he exceeded expectations. If we're being honest, right? Because I'm a credential part of the media, so I go to ACC Media Days last year, and the connects that I have in Durham, they were mad at Mike Elko. They hated the way that he left. And I heard a lot of stories, so I'm like, damn, is that bad for Texas A&M? No. Texas A&M was able to handle business. Utah at 18, I think that's interesting. And I mean, shout out to Kyle Whittingham, because it shows the culture that he's been able to build. I think Phil Steele looked at this and said, Utah will be okay. They'll be just okay. Florida at 17, I'm high on Florida. I got Florida in the college football playoff. Matter of fact, I had Florida getting a bye in the college football playoff at that, at-large bid, if that makes sense. So I believe Florida has a dynamic quarterback in DJ Lagway. I love their wide receiver room. They got a 1-2 punch at running back. They got the best offensive line in all of college football. There isn't an interior offensive lineman that I like more than Jake Slaughter in college football. So I'm high on Florida. Illinois, another team that I'm high on. Luke Altmaier hasn't gotten enough credit. The job that Brett Bielema has done in Champaign, he hasn't got enough credit for. Let's be honest. the season that they had last year, yes, I agree with the people who say, well, Illinois did kind of leave some meat on the bone last year. I would have to agree with you because the Penn State game was certainly a winnable game. But we saw like when South Carolina was very hot last season and they played South Carolina in the bowl game, they was able to beat South Carolina, and was able to see Brett Bielema out schmuck Shane Beamer. And Shane Beamer was livid. If looks could kill, Brett Bielema would have been dead after that game last year. I promise you. Because Shane Beamer wasn't having it. Boise State 15. I think that while Boise State, I think they'll be really good this year. I think Maddox Madison will definitely take the next step in progression as it pertains to him being a quarterback. But I think the team to watch for, and I know I got a little bit of pushback on this last night on Overreaction Monday, but UNLV, watch out for Dan Mullen. And I know a lot of us were huge fans of Barry Odom. We were huge fans of the offense that UNLV ran. But when it comes to discipline and holding people accountable, and I think you're going to see a guy like Alex Orji, who was very up and down last year in Ann Arbor. He was playing for ugly offense. Like, what was uglier offenses you can name in college football? Maybe Seth Luttrell's offense at Oklahoma last year was probably worse than Sharon Moore's offense at Michigan last year. He wasn't in a friendly offense. So I think at UNLV, they got that kid Jaden Thompson that I like a lot at a running back. I think when you look at this team, you look at the swagger that Dan Mullen is going to bring to Nevada, Las Vegas. Watch out for UNLV. I truly think that they're the team to beat in the Mountain West Conference. Miami at 14. Phil Steele, I think you had Miami a little too high, Phil Steele. I think you had Miami a little too high. And I say this because I look at Carson Beck. I think Carson Beck can be a tier 1 quarterback this college football season. Don't get it misconstrued. I think they'll be really, really good. Mario Cristobal has been trying to restore the roar in Coral Gables. And so far, he's been doing a really good job. He's been putting the work in. He's been recruiting. But make no mistake about it. If there was a team that should have been in the college football playoff last year that wasn't in the college football playoff and that was their own doing, it was the U. It was 100% Miami Hurricanes. Miami should have been in the playoffs last year. All they had to do, go to Syracuse, beat Fran Brown and company, and they couldn't. And this is after South Carolina did them a favor in the Palmetto Bowl. And they couldn't win. That's an issue. That's a problem. We go back to 2023. We remember the game versus Georgia Tech. All they had to do was kneel the ball. That did not happen. So, yes, am I critical of Mario Cristobal? Yes. Am I going to be critical of Carson Beck this year? Yes. Would I love to see the U become the U again? Abso-freaking-lutely. But until I see it, I'm not believing it. I'm sorry. And shout out to Phil Steele, because guess who he got at 13? Who's the team that I've been talking up for the last 2.5 weeks? And this before the magazine was out. I've been talking about that team in Waco. Walking in Waco. I've been talking about Baylor. I've been talking about Sawyer Robinson. Sawyer Robinson is one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. Look at a kid like Josh Cameron, who's dynamic in the return game, who's dynamic at wide receiver. Running back game is like that. Mike Trigg at tight end. I've been talking up Baylor, and I've been saying Iowa State gonna win it. Iowa State gonna win it. I had a change of heart a few days ago. Baylor is winning the Big 12, and and they were red hot at the end of last season. They started season 2 and 4, finished the season like on a 6-game winning streak. I've been really high on Baylor. So when I look you guys in your eyes and I tell you that Baylor is going to win the Big 12 this year, and I get pushed back, and people looking at me like I'm crazy. Phil Steele got the same damn thing. He don't got Arizona State ranked higher than Baylor. He don't got Iowa State ranked higher than Baylor. He don't got Kansas State rated higher than Baylor. This is a ranking. He got Baylor as the number 1 team in the Big 12. So people are seeing what the hell that I'm seeing. Baylor is like that. We walk into Waco. I'm telling you. Baylor's like that. 100% like that. SMU at 12, I don't agree with that. I just hype Phil Steele up for his Baylor take, because I'm 100% high on Baylor. But I'm not as high on SMU this year. I love what SMU did. Their inaugural season, and I don't think they got enough credit last year. Shout out to Rhett Lashley, bro, because I was very critical of Rhett Lashley last year. Because Preston Stone is a guy that I thought could light it up at quarterback, and I'm interested to see what he does in Northwestern this year. But looking at Rhett Lashley, he brought 2 quarterbacks to ACC Media Days, and even though other teams did it, I'm looking at Moon, I'm looking at Jalen. I'm like, why Preston Stone at the start? I'm like, why he sitting here lying to Kevin Jennings? Like, come on, look at the end of 2023. Yes, Kevin Jennings was able to win some games, but it was ugly. And I just thought as a pure passer, I thought that Preston Stone could have came into the season and really been one of those guys where we talk about ACC Offensive Player of the Year. That's the type of height I had for Preston Stone, especially with RJ Merlin at tight end. Looking at their roster, ultimately he made the right decision. They went 8-0 in their inaugural season in the ACC, and I know y'all like, man, it's just the ACC. I love ACC ball though. I don't deem it as just the ACC, but you know, to go 8-0 first year, I don't think we should underwhelm that. I don't think we should underwhelm that at all. So SMU at 12, I don't agree with, but they're at 12. LSU at number 11. You guys know how I feel about LSU. Garrett Nussmeier is my favorite to win a Heisman. Him and Cade is getting close though. He's been closing the window, and you know, you look at LSU's offense; it's 100% dynamic. My only question is Brian Kelly, and that'll continue to be my question. Brian Kelly is absolutely my question. I ain't saying Brian Kelly is nowhere near the hot seat, but when we start looking at coaches and we start saying it's time, like we heard, you know, Joey McGuire say it's time, James Franklin, and it's definitely time for you. And I look at LSU and I said, Brian Kelly, if not now, then when? That's seriously the question I propose. If you guys aren't going to take this thing right now, this year, you know, the SEC is for the taking. If you're not going to go take it now, then when? Really have a great roster. They have a phenomenal roster. This one kind of blew me away. Michigan at number 10. Michigan's high on this ranking list. And I do believe in the talent that Michigan has. Is this a Bryce Underwood thing? Do we just believe, you know, Michigan's going to play defense. We know that they're going to be able to run the ball. You know, can they make enough plays from the pocket is my question as it pertains to Michigan. Surprise at number 9. Oklahoma is at number 9. We look at Oklahoma. We talk about Oklahoma. We talk about Brent Venables and this being a pivotal year for Brent Venables, my apologies. And we look at him. We look at what they've been able to do. They went and got somebody in GM and Jim Nagy, somebody who's been there, done it at the NFL level. We've seen how he's grown. Like, I don't want to say single-handedly, but single-handedly he helped get the Senior Bowl to where it is now. And it's the premier postseason all-star event. It really is. You know, that's what he was able to do for the Senior Bowl. So you got a guy like that in the room, a guy that's going to help you focus on roster construction. I believe he was a huge reason why Jay Knott, you know, left California and headed to Norman. I truly believe that. So seeing him at 9, Ben Arbuckle, their offensive coordinator, John Mateer, we seen him light it up in Pullman last year. And it's so dope when you get the transfer and you already know the system. That's dope. So then now you got a coach on the field, somebody's able to teach that system. So Oklahoma at 9. Oregon at number 8. How do you guys feel about Oregon this year? I look at Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning is probably my favorite coach of all of college football. Now, I think Kirby Smart is the best coach, but if I say somebody who's my favorite coach, it's probably Dan Lanning. 35-6 in his tenure there. It's pretty damn impressive. But, you know, how do we feel about Oregon this year? Evan Stewart, how long is he out for? You know, the quarterback position is Dante Moore ready. You know, but he's in the offense that I think that is set up for him to have success. You look at the running back room with James and Hughes, you know, they're loaded and they're going to play defense this year. Shout out to Taj Lapoy because we was thinking he might get fired, right? Like, what isn't that what we were thinking? So I like what Oregon got going on. At number 7, Alabama. I think Phil Steele is seeing Alabama like a lot of us are seeing Alabama. We think Kalen DeBoer is going to do damage this year. Got his guy Ryan Grubb back at the offensive coordinator. Nick Sheridan is still on the staff, but he's just not calling plays this year. Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer, it's like that sixth sense. I love their wide receiver room. I think this wide receiver room is comparable to the wide receiver room they had in Seattle back in 2023. Alabama's going to be really good. And Ty Simpson, if there's a guy who kind of won the spring season this past year, and in the spring, it was Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson made a lot of us believe. And it was interesting that Ty Simpson had done so well in the spring. And I was still hearing reports that Alabama was interested in Kevin Jennings, even though Kevin Jennings wasn't even in the portal. So that was interesting. Shout out to everybody who's watching right now. I'm the governor if you've never seen this show before. This is Governor of College Football. We're live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 4 p.m. Sometimes I do surprise episodes over the weekend as well. Alrighty, so now we get into our top 6. Georgia at number 6. Where do you evaluate Georgia this year? How high are you on Gunnar Stockton? Do you think he could really lead this offense in Athens? Where we're at defensively? I think Glenn Schumann just has it figured out. I think he's kind of always had it figured out, right? If we're being honest. So, Georgia at number 6. North 5, Ohio State. I know a lot of people, I said it before, I said it again, I know a lot of people think there's not truly an open quarterback competition. They just kind of think that Ryan Day wants to get the most out of Julian Sayin. And if that's true, then cool. But we've seen some coaches like last year. We go to Columbia, South Carolina to be exact. And we've seen the battle between Robbie Ashford and Lenore Sellers take place at the end of the spring season. What did Shane Beamer say? Lenore Sellers is our starting quarterback. I'm like, damn, he ain't even giving Robbie Ashford the fall camp. He just let it be known. So when we look at this, and I look at this Ohio State situation, and I say, okay, Julian Sands' talent is undeniable. I'm just kind of confused on why he hasn't won the job already. It really confuses me. I'm not sure, but Lincoln Conhoes, you can't look at some of the intel and information we've been able to get out of Columbus. You can't look at that spring game he had and can't say that this kid doesn't deserve a shot. He 100% deserves a shot. Ohio State at 5. Texas at number 4. Okay, Phil Steele. Texas at number 4. This is interesting. Texas has lost an awful lot of production. I do believe in Arch Manning. I do believe in, Steve Sarkisian as a head coach. The plays that he's able to draw up, I always say like he's just like an assassin on the sideline. And when you see him take a kneel almost, and he's kind of looking through his playbook and kind of figuring out his plays, it's almost like art. I almost feel like Steve Sarkisian isn't there. In his mind, he's listening to music. He's not in a stadium of 90,000 screaming fans. He's just on the island by himself with his and his music and his playbook, and that's all he needs. He's not paying attention to anything else. So I like what Texas is going to bring. One of the best running back rooms in all of college football. When you look at Wisner and you look at C.J. Baxter's coming back this year. So I like what Texas can do. Notre Dame at 3. Phil still had Notre Dame really high. He had them really high. But, I mean, they deserve to be up there. They were in the, national championship last year. They did lose, but, hell, they fought their way to get there. And they did it with a kind of a weird offense. It was a heavy run game oriented. And it was interesting to see what Mike Nimbrock, their offensive coordinator, did, in 2022 and 2023 in Baton Rouge, with that high octane offense, and then how he was able to flip the switch and kind of play to the strengths of the team, which was their defense and their running game. So I think that's beautiful to see when you see coordinators who are able to navigate like that. Number 2, Clemson. I've been high on Clemson. I'm very high on Clemson. Like I said, if Dabo Swinney wins a national championship in this era doing it his way, he deserves to go on a FU tour. I truly believe Dabo Swinney deserves to go on a FU tour. FU. Like, I feel like he should be able to do that. He should be able to have the national championship in his hand and just go on a crazy media tour. I'm telling you, like, kick his feet up, go on First Take, start with Stephen A. Smith, all them, Colin Cowherd, whoever you want to talk to, kick your feet up on the table. Because they said you couldn't do it in this era, Dabo Swinney. And then we start looking at the, best constructed rosters in all of college football. They're number 1 in return to production. They've been able to build a pipeline. He's been able to recruit out of high school. And we can say, yeah, he's used the transfer portal. Has he? Is he just... Hey, can you please just get one player out of the portal? Man, come on, bro. Like, that's how I feel like he's picked his players out of the portal. Because he's been able to build out of high school. You look at his defensive line. You look at his linebacker core. The players that he got on the back end. Kate Klubnik and Garrett Riley, the best offensive coordinator quarterback duo. All of college football. They're really going to be cooking this year. Clemson is dangerous. And that's why I see a lot of people who had Clemson number 1. Like my dog, Moon did. I get it. People who had Clemson number 1. You look at their roster construction. You look at what Dabo's been able to build. You look at it's really the culture though in Clemson. It's the fact that they have the highest graduation rate of any FBS school. It's the fact that so many of their players come back. I was at Clemson spring game in 2023. Haven't made it out the last 2 years, but I will be there week 1 of the college football season. And you see so many people just there chilling on the sidelines, bro. Like, I mean, hell, C.J. Spiller is their running back coach. So it's just that family-oriented thing that everybody try to sell, but everybody can't attain. It's something that Dabo has truly been able to do. So shout out to him. Number 1 is Penn State. Penn State has the best constructed roster in all of college football. They have the best. The best. You look at their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator tandem, and Andy Kotelnicki and Jim Knowles. You look at this defense. Defense is going to be electric. We're showing Drew Aller on the screen now. Drew Aller is one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in all of college football. I know there's some plays that Nittany Lions fans would like to have back, especially in that game versus Notre Dame. But you look at this running back room, arguably the best. I would probably give Notre Dame a slight edge over them. I do prefer, and I'm kind of the opposite of what most people are, I do prefer Katron Allen over Nick Singleton. But I like this team an awful lot. They got a really good offensive line as well. So, James Franklin, I look at you and I say, your excuses are out, my friend. Your excuses are done. We've eliminated every excuse. Now it's time to produce. And if you don't produce with this roster, with these coordinators, with this team, people will be at your games calling you a fraud like they did at the spring game. So that's Phil Steele's top 40. I like most of it. Having Baylor at 13 really tripped me out. I didn't expect him to have that. Because I didn't think that like many people saw what I saw when I looked at this Baylor roster. It's like one of those things, you see it, you say, hold on, that can't be real. That can't be real. And then you go look at something else and come back, you're like, no, it is real though. So I feel it feels good to see that other people, especially respected people, are kind of viewing this Baylor team the way that I'm viewing that Baylor team. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to hurry up because I didn't spend too long talking about that. We got 10 minutes left in this episode. Just crazy. So I'm going to get through governor's ruling. And I'm going to get through around the nation. We ain't taking no ad break today. We hit no Wingstop button if we got to. Or B-Dubs button if we got to. But let's get into governor's ruling. We get into the Biletnikoff Watchlist. Not going to spend all 10 minutes on this. We're just going to look at some of the guys. Everybody's kind of looking at wide receiver. So clearly Jeremiah Smith is number one on the Fred Biletnikoff Watchlist. It's easy. The crown is already fitted. You know, his 2024 mixtape was crazy. 76 catches, 1,315 yards, 17.3 yards per catch, 17 total touchdowns. That's a true frosh. Crazy. It's crazy. This kid's got a lot set up for him. And he's going to be successful. Ryan Williams, number 2. I think that was to be expected as well. Ryan Williams was dynamic. We remember the play against Georgia. And when he made the play, all I could think about before that play was made is like, yo, Kalen DeBoer about to get dragged, bro. That's all I could think about. I'm like, Kalen DeBoer about to get dragged, bro. To have a lead like this and lose at home to a team that you hate, oh, he about to get dragged. This about to be a tough week for Hollins. I remember that was all I was thinking. And then Ryan Williams makes one hell of a play. One hell of a play. And they were able to get like that walk-off touchdown type thing. So, yeah, I believe them two are 1 or 2. Then we had the kid Jordyn Tyson from Arizona State. You start looking at, a lot of these quarterbacks and a lot of these wide receiver combos. I think that's how we start to get the list that we got. Rod Williams, Ty Simpson. I think Julian Sam will be the guy at Ohio State. But, you look at Sam Levitt and what Sam Levitt is able to do. I 100% believe Jordyn Tyson deserves to be on this list. Where we at with Elijah Surratt? There's a quarterback change. We know Mendoza will be there at quarterback. Mike Shanahan's still offensive coordinator. Kirk Cincinnati is still there. We see what Kirk Cincinnati was able to do. And he told you on the introductory press conference, Google me, I win. And he does. He'll have to continue to back that up, but he does. Eric Singleton, it's kind of like I feel like this is like a 5A, 5B with Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton. It's just depending on going to ball out. But, Eric Singleton is extremely fast. I think they got a guy that can do it at quarterback. With Jackson Arnold. I'm just interested to see how well Auburn plays this year. I think they'll build around the coach. Hugh Freeze strong, of course. Cancer sucks. But yeah. Antonio Williams. I was surprised to see him this high on the list because I prefer Westco over Williams. I believe Williams has gotten a lot of the hype over the past few years, but man, Westco is real deal. We seen him against Texas. He seemed like to be the only one who showed up that game. And we seen other games, even the game against SMU. So Evan Stewart would have been high on this list as well. We don't know what's going on. Hopefully he can come back and play this season, but it's a hope. I already talked about Brian Westco. I believe he can be really good. Carnell Tate is deserving to be on this list. Kevin Concepcion is deserving to be on this list as well. Especially if you look at what he was able to do his true freshman year at NC State. How is Marcel Reed development going? You guys already know how I feel about Colin Klein as an offensive coordinator. So, like I said, I like it a lot. Some other guys who I feel like weren't on the list. Nick Anderson deserved to be on this list. What do we get out of Zachariah Branch at Georgia this year? How will they use him? Now, if there's, I see why a lot of people sometimes not Lincoln Riley, but if we talk about the underutilization of Zachariah Branch, it happened. I'm interested to see how well Georgia uses him. Barry Brown, LSU, I think is another guy that we could be talking about. Really, this year, you look at his speed, you look at his ability, and playing with Gerd Nussmeier, a guy that can make every throw. I think that's going to be interesting as well. So these are some of the guys I'm looking at. Of course, Josh Cameron is on my list. I'm high on Baylor. You guys know this already. But, yeah, that was kind of a quick variation of it because we're running out of time. And we're not taking an ad break. We're going straight into Around the Nation. And let me fix this little image here because these images want to be grouped so badly. Alrighty, so we got Around the Nation. G5 coaches on the hot seat. So we've already done this at the Power 4 level. Shout out to everybody in here. I believe this has been the most watched episode so far. So shout out to everybody. We're streaming on 3 different platforms. So shout out to everybody who's in here. I said it earlier. I am the governor. We're live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. And that'll continue. And, you know, who am I? I'm the CEO of CFB Nation, one of the CEOs for CFB Nation, fastest growing college football platform in the world, Craig. So you guys can subscribe over there at THE CFB Nation as well. So, alrighty, let's get to it. Around the Nation, G5 coaches on a hot seat. Some of these coaches I really like, and I hate the fact that they're going to be on a hot seat. I truly do. I truly do, but, you know, it is what it is. We got to handle business. So, group of 5 coaches on a hot seat. Clock is ticking for these group of 5 head coaches. 2025 might be the last ride. Whether they're stalling out, underwhelming, or simply out of momentum, this fall could bring major changes if things don't flip fast. Here's who's feeling the heat as their season lines up. Joe Moorhead, Akron Zips, 8-28 in his past 3 seasons. You think about the fact that Akron has fell below that point. What is it? The progression rate of like 914 or something like that. It's crazy what's going on in Akron right now. I think they're already bowling eligible for this upcoming season, and whether they were or not, I didn't think they'll make the bowl anyway. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Joe Moorhead. I'm hoping that the boosters still believe in him, that fan base still believe in him. But their schedule, man, their first 2 games rough. They play Wyoming, then at Nebraska. They play UAB. We'll talk about UAB a little bit later because I believe Trent Dilfer's on a hot seat. And it's crazy because, you know, I don't believe it's because he's done a poor job coaching. You can clearly see the emotion, you know, when he's coaching, and that's phenomenal. But UAB September 13th. September 20th, they play Duquesne. September 27th at Toledo. Toledo's going to be real deal. I think a lot of people believe that. Versus CMU. October 4th. October 11th versus Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio is a really good MAC team. They'll play Ball State on October 18th. October 25th, they'll play Buffalo. November 4th, they'll play UMass. November 11th, they'll play Kent State. Kent State just recently fired their coach, or they would have been on this list 100%. November 18th, they play at Bowling Green. Joe, I believe with everything going on at Akron right now, I think with your schedule, there are winnable games on this schedule, but I think with everything going on, I think the fact that you guys are already bowling eligible heading into this season, yeah, I think he's gone. I think he's done. Moving right along, Trent Dilfer UAB, 7-17 in 2 seasons. They're in the AAC. The AAC is tough, man. It's still tough, even with the teams that they lost. You know, AAC is still tough. Former quarterback just hasn't found his groove in the AAC. UAB flashes of talent, but it's been overshadowed by inconsistency, and it's time to deliver. August 29th, they play Alabama State. September 6th, they play at Navy. September 13th, we already mentioned the Akron game, 1 p.m. ESPN+. September 20th, they play at Tennessee, bro. Versus Army, October 4th. Saturday, October 11th, Florida Atlantic. October 18th versus Memphis. Jesus Christ. November 1st at UConn. November 8th, Rice. 15th, November 15th, North Texas. November 22nd, South Florida. South Florida is another team I believe in. I believe that Phil Steele didn't have South Florida in his top 40, which is interesting to me. And it's also November 29th. I'm hoping the Brass truly has Trent Dilfer back. That's a tough schedule. I don't think they make it to bowl eligibility this year, but I'm hoping that they give him another year. It'd be interesting. Sonny Cumbie, LA Tech. La Tech, my apologies. 13-29 in 3 seasons. They're in the CUSA. They haven't got close to bowl eligibility. I think this is the season. If he's not bowl eligible or better, and it may have to be 7 games, we're going to have to see. August 29th versus Southeast Louisiana. September 6th at LSU. September 13th versus New Mexico State. September 20th versus Southern Miss. September 27th at UTEP. October 9th at Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State, I think, is top 5, maybe maybe top 8 in return production. I want to say they're top 5 in return production if I remember the list correctly. Tuesday, October 21st, they play Western Kentucky. Yo, shout out to CUSA, shout out to the MAC, shout out to these schools. Sunbelt does it as well, who play these midweek games, and they give us something to watch week in and week out. So Friday, October 31st are the same. Houston, Saturday, November 8th at Delaware. Conference USCA is just going to be kind of weak this year. Saturday, November 15th at Washington State, then versus Liberty, and then at Missouri State. I don't think Cumbie makes it through this season. So that's 2 coaches fired so far. Clay Helton, Georgia Southern Eagles. This is something I didn't even think I'd be talking about, man. Because the way Georgia Southern started their 2023 season, we thought like, okay, they were off to a really good start. I remember I think both teams were undefeated, or they had one loss when they played Liberty in 2023, and then Liberty put hands and feet upon them. So I think Helton's situation is a little bit different from everybody else's situation. I think we can have mediocrity and he keeps his job. So they're in the Sun Belt. They play Fresno State week 1, USC week 2. Those are 2 tough games. Then they play Jacksonville State. That's another tough game. Week 4 they play Maine. Then they play James Madison. Wow, I may have to take that back. Thursday, October 9th, they play Southern Miss. October 18th, they play Georgia State. October 25th, they play Arkansas State. They play App State November 6th. November 15th, they play Coastal Carolina. November 22nd, Old Dominion, and November 29th, Marshall. He has to go bowl eligible to keep his job. I'm not sure if they'll get there, but he'll have to go bowl eligible to keep his job. Ricky Rahne, Old Dominion Monarchs. He's 20-30 in 4 seasons. Let's look at their schedule. At Indiana, August 30th, September 6th. NC Central, September 13th. Virginia Tech. September 27th, Liberty. October 4th, Coastal Carolina. October 11th, Marshall. October 18th, James Madison. App State. Nah, he's done. Sorry, Ricky Rahne. I ain't even going through the rest of your schedule. You done, bro. You might be cooked, bro. So that's our G5 coaches that we believe are on a hot seat. I think I fired all but 2 of them. It's rough out here, man. It's hard out here for a pimp. Shout out to everybody who watched this episode. I told you guys earlier, I think this is the most watched episode that we had so far. There's a lot of people on the live on all 3 platforms that we're streaming on. I truly appreciate you. And make sure you guys, if you aren't subscribed already, go subscribe. And if you're watching this on another platform other than YouTube, don't forget, enter that search bar at Governor of College Football. We live. I did want to give you guys an episode tomorrow, but I think I have to go to work. But I'm going to prepare for it in case I can leave work and then come here and give y'all this fire. But after August 1st, that won't even be an issue, man. So fun episode this week. This week went by so fast, man. I truly enjoy giving y'all this content. We've been really consistent over here at CFB Nation, and it hasn't just been me, man. Moon's been really consistent with his World of College Football. I think he's giving you guys an episode tonight. It's been a really fun week of college football. Probably my favorite week as it pertains to, I'm very critical of myself, but as it pertains to the content I feel like I gave you guys this week. Shout out to Boomer, shout out to Nino, shout out to D-Now, shout out to Mikey B, shout out to Jalen, shout out to Andy, shout out to SE, shout out to everybody, affiliated or once was affiliated with CFB Nation, man. Shout out to Brad, shout out to everybody. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody, man. But we really moving this needle. I'm excited for the content that we're about to bring y'all. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in a sport that survive in the fans. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, I don't know. It might be tomorrow. I don't know. It'll probably be Monday. You all take care. Governor of College Football. We're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ on
Defensive
that
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the ball.